Welcome back. We're going to do a John Destiny Road to Glory 5-star running back out of Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, elusive bruiser. If you're not familiar with the way it works this year, you get to pick 10 schools in high school. Those 10 schools give you a requirement of goals to reach while you're in your 5 games of high school. So it's kind of like play the moments. So we chose 10 schools here. We got Coastal Carolina for the home team. We got Alabama for the legacy of the running back position there. South Carolina and Clemson, two biggest schools in the state, kind of trying to stay relatively local. Not saying we're going to stay in South Carolina, but that's kind of why we chose the greater Southeast for the most part. Michigan, this is strictly just for a callback for the Luke Sutter Road to Glory last year we had a blast with. We got North Carolina bordering, the home team. So, like I said, trying to stay close, but they've got great running backs over the years. Nebraska, Arizona State, and Michigan, and I would probably include in Miami in this, is really just for like board fillers. Like it would be nice to play at these schools, but I'm not necessarily in love with them. And here at the end, you'll see I actually picked Georgia. The reason I picked Georgia is because they're on a roll. No Nick Saban anymore, but Kirby Smart, he's running college football. Get done making our player. We're the number 3 nationally ranked, number 1 in the state, number 1 in the position. I decided to import Myrtle Beach High. I don't know who made it, but this is a killer set. Was trying to do something a little different. Some of the ones on YouTube you guys see are all the preset ones, so I tried to include it a little different, make it a little bit personable. But if you're new, like I said, they've added a lot to the game. The first one is obviously Team Builder's way, I would argue, leaps and bounds compared to last year. And small stuff in Road to Glory, like the run out you see right here. You can, pan around. It's kind of like a GoPro following you. Looks cool now, way cooler when you get to college. So we're going to line it up. We got to get 10 yards and not let the rival get a TFL on us. Takes the handoff, going around the outside, about get TFL. I think we did get TFL'd there. Back, same play, just cut it up the middle. Just trying to get those 10 yards. So the way it works is, like I said, you got to get the 2 goals it's going to require to really make it a success. Let's say that, for this one, if we don't get 10 yards, but we don't get the rival to get a TFL, we'll still account for half the goal, so we'll still get points, but the goal every time is to bang both these goals out, because that's the best thing for our recruitment. This first game, main thing is, almost got tackled for a TFL there for the rival. Main thing is not to blow the goals. Do the best you can. And I decided to do it on All-American. I decided to do it on All-American this year, just because last year was pretty rough, and I played a little bit, preset trying to do it. All-American worked best for me. It's entirely up to you. I'm just trying to make this as entertainable as possible and enjoyable, really, because if I'm not having fun doing this, I'm not making these. So I made an elusive bruiser, so being able to catch the ball is something I didn't foresee us to be so good at, but it is high school. But as long as we don't fumble, get a TFL, like I said, we complete the moment. We didn't score, so we lose some points, but the main thing is the moment is completed, so we get that 250 minimum. This one is gain yards on inside plays. Honestly, that's what we live for. We made an elusive bruiser. Although John Destiny is an elusive bruiser, I feel like he's got pretty good speed. The only thing I will say that I kind of noticed playing through high school, I didn't really get the trucking down. I relied pretty heavily on the stiff arm and the juke, not really so much on the trucking. Later in the video, you'll see that there's another one that's I didn't know you can actually press a button to cover the ball better, which kind of boned me on one of the challenges. But you can see you can pass the ball in high school. You get full access to all plays. So I tried to mix it up a little bit, throw a couple plays in there, but for the most part, we're going to be running the ball. Made a Road to Glory. It's a blast this year. I can't recommend it enough. Like I said, whoever made the Myrtle Beach team builder, I wish I had your name. Super awesome. Like another thing that they did was on one of the team builders that I looked at, they actually had some of the old legends of Myrtle Beach High as like built in, so that's cool too. You guys should check it out. It's the number one, if you type in Myrtle Beach High, it's the number one downloaded guy on PlayStation, which I think is cross-platform this year, so it doesn't really matter. But Y'all go download that, give that guy a like. He killed it on this one, you can see. Back to the gameplay. We're really just trying to score a touchdown here because, first drive we got kind of stalled out. Second drive got stalled out again, but we completed both challenges. But obviously scoring the down gets those extra points that we're looking for. Um, I would say for the most part, I'm going to get 90% of these that I go through, and you'll kind of get to see these highlights. Like I said, the stiff arm, definitely my go-to. Maybe stiff arm or the juke, definitely the go-to. I really haven't got the trucking down, so y'all can comment something in there. Maybe I'm pressing like a miss buttons or something they did this year. You can also reach the ball out this year, like you saw right there. You just got to be careful you don't fumble. But like I said, an elusive bruiser kind of has pretty good speed. I can really get the edge pretty good. You'll see on some of these, man, I'm like just straight up outrunning them. I'm just all speed sometimes. So completed challenges there again. See, this one is we got to get the first downs on inside runs, and again made an elusive bruiser, and you can see that juke move, man. That juke move is busted. On the elusive bruiser, if you're making a build this year, that would be what I recommend. Like I said, mixing in some pass plays. Elusive Bruiser can also catch, I would have thought he would have stoned for hands, but it's all for me. Made a 5-star though, so he's gonna be pretty athletic. You'll see on a lot of these that like one guy on the edge, I just can't beat. Now we're in high school, we can't really adjust the ratings, but and you can see like if I had 2 more speed there, I'm gone. And there's a lot of cases that you'll see that if I just had just a little bit more speed. Got our first touchdown there, and you can see we get way more points when we score on top of the goal. So that's the goal every time. Get our 2 challenges, and then take it to the crib. Oh my goodness! And you can see the jukes. Like I said, they're ridiculous. You get a little like confidence in those juke moves when you're an elusive bruiser. You should probably lean back into the stiff arm there at the end, or like I said, master the truck that I'm just not so good at. Like I said, the goal is always trying to get these challenges. Some of them get pretty crazy. You'll see when colleges kind of request stuff from us. They're pretty wild. And like I said, if I stay outside there, that's a touchdown. I just wanted the contact. But definitely trying to get touchdowns on every single play. See if we can't get this up the middle here. Breaking tackles, and like I said, up on the right analog stick when you're getting tackled actually reaches the ball out. You just got to be careful you don't fumble when you do it. But I'm having a blast with College Football 26. If you are too, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. If you've made it, roughly through the beginning here and I kind of caught your attention, drop a comment below. What RTG did you make? Who did you play for? I'm super interested in all that. And like I said, we're trying to finish every drive just like that. So we got 1,010 tape score on game 1, and we receive our offers from the University of UAB. That will be a dragon. We also got our scholarship from UConn, go up north. Not really too interested in that. Also UNLV, that kind of does interest me, Vegas. And then the hometown team, Coastal Carolina, gave us the offer. We'd be the first 5-star to ever go to Coastal. And somehow we dropped in the rankings after completed every goal. But like I said, we didn't score every time. Western Michigan gives us an offer. Wyoming, bitch-ass Josh Allen's college, gives us an offer. FIU, Miami Vice jerseys, give us an offer. Michigan's head coach tells us he's interested and he'd like to come see us play. This is the kind of stuff I'm talking about. When they say they want to come see your game, you'll get presented with a specific challenge, a highlight moment that you'll get to pick from, and they're normally for the running back 50-yard touchdowns. So every time you see that coach screen pop up where it's a college coach gives to us, we got to go through, pick it as one of our 5 or 4 challenges. And most of the time I saw was 50-yard touchdowns, which is not easy. I mean, that whole game, I might have had one. But if you don't get the 50-yard touchdown in the allotted time slot, it doesn't count. So if you open the game with a 50-yard touchdown, but then that Michigan challenge comes up and you get a 20-yard touchdown, it doesn't remember the previous ones. That's the only thing in high school that I would argue that I didn't get as much fun out of. I don't hate the moments. I'd obviously like to play the games, but the moments are pretty cool. when I get to this 50-yard touchdown, it's this one or the next one that I get to. It comes down to the wire. Like I'm on my last attempt and I barely get it through. And later, the more I played high school, the more I started to really like these outside zone runs. And oh my goodness, that stiff arm. If you time that stiff arm right, you can punish defenders in this year's game. I'm sure it's going to get, a little nerfed later in the line, but man, it is wild some of the animations you get with a stiff arm. And then this play and then that toss sweep are probably my two favorite plays in the playbook. But it's in a high school playbook. It's nothing crazy. Another time we don't score, but you can see this is the 50-yard touchdown. So let's see what we can get over this. I thought the sweep was the best thing for us just because, like I said, our speed was doing it. I think the 150-yard touchdown I got in game one was on this play. It was just enough of a blocking system. As long as you're patient enough and get the outside, you can outrun them. Now, sometimes like that where you get the 11 yards and then he kind of catches your ankles when you get run out of real estate. But this was the goal. Just hammer the pitches on the outside and try to outrun these guys. I did the best I could there in the first couple of attempts, and then this is kind of where it gets dicey. I get closer and closer to the 50-yard line, and I'm starting to think in my head, like, oh crap, I can't pass the 50-yard line and not score. So if I don't see it, like a guaranteed touchdown, I'm kind of trying to get tackled at that point. Like this one, I'm like, oh, I can get it. And then, he sheds a block right there on the edge, and I'm right past the 50. I'm right at the 50, but you can see on the next play, it's just lined up perfectly. Get the 50-yard touchdown at the 50 yards. Like I said, you just gotta kind of pay attention to stuff like that, but you get stupid tape score over that, and then obviously the coaches love it. So now we're just trying to figure the basic goals out to finish the game because that was our hardest. It's only going to get easier from there. Those 5-star schools that want you to do challenges like that, they're always going to be 50 yards. We made a 5-star, so we're only looking to go prestigious colleges. We've already got the offer from Coastal, which is the lowest starred school on our recruiting board, and they're not going to give us a challenge because they already gave us the offer. Still interested in going there. Comment below if you think I'll end up going to Coastal and be the first 5-star. Is that a crazy idea? I just don't know if I could get away with looking at that teal field the whole game. I mean, that's pretty brutal. And you can see later in the video, man, I fall in love with this pitch. Like this play right here. I hope whatever college I decide to go to decides to get this pitch. And then obviously some of them are audibles. That's maybe something that's kind of cheesy that I kind of wish they didn't do in the running back RTG. But I get it. There's only so much you can ask a running back to do in there. So you got to mix up some challenges. Like I think one of them I saw was flip a play. One of them I saw was audible a play to get X amount of yards. So you just got to kind of take what you can get, I guess. But a big fan of RTG compared to last year as somebody that put a ton of hours in last year's game. Definitely a big fan of the updates they did to this year's game. And you can see I missed the challenge there because I did not cover the ball. That was the one that I was talking about. I didn't think that was a thing, but apparently holding, I think it's one of the bumpers, gives it to us. And you can see we load up more offers. Some's that are on our scholarship list that we were interested in, like South Carolina, North Carolina, and Nebraska, and others that we didn't, necessarily love. And you can see after not completing one challenge, we dropped to 9th in the country and 2 at our position. But we still get the scholarships rolling in. Some of these would be interesting. I'm just kind of trying to stay relatively in the southeast. That was my mindset in the beginning. And you can see the Michigan coach was thrilled with our performance, and they loved it. And they're looking to see more out of us. But it wasn't enough to give us the scholarship. And then obviously every time you finish those challenges, they bump up. So you can see I'm rearranging the board. I kind of liked Bama, Michigan, Coastal, South Carolina, North Carolina at this point. That was pretty much the cutoff. Everything below really the top 5 is what we're focusing at. Clemson was still on there. They just hadn't given us an offer, so I bumped them all the way to 10. And they, just had no interest in us. However, if you saw on there, they were actually going to give us second string, so that was cool. But going into game 3, my goal this time was to score as many touchdowns as possible. I did not like that I was at the number 2 on my position. I'm still balling. You see these highlights. Some of these had a 50-yard touchdown last game. So the goal was every time I touch the ball, be explosive. So you'll see me spamming skill moves, spin moves, juke moves. Like I'm just trying my best to get a better grip for the player, so I can kind of get comfortable in space. Because a lot of the times I felt like I really just trying to learn how to play with John Destiny. But an elusive bruiser, one of the attributes is when you get to top speed. Uh, you're more likely to break tackles. So you'll see me try to get these edges a lot, and the whole purpose of that is I'm at top speed by the time I hit that outside hash. So I know the first guy I'm gonna shrug. So that was the goal. Just try to make it where it was a one-on-one every time, and obviously sometimes you get tackle, cow wrapped like that. But every time I touch the ball, the goal was to score. Complete as many challenges as possible, and every time I touch the ball, score. And I get pretty crazy highlights. And I think it's this game. If it's not this game, it's the next game where, uh, like 20-yard touchdown, 30-yard touchdown. Like I'm just racking them up. But I'm having a blast playing this career mode. Like I said, getting the edges, diving for the pylon. Boom, 300 tape score. That's what we're looking for. Inside zone. See right here, I'm trying to truck, but for some, I don't know if there's a new mechanic I just don't understand yet. Hopefully I get that figured out before episode 2. But every time I touch the ball, see I kind of broke the tackle there for a second. Every time I touch the ball, I'm trying to be going to the crib every time. Elusive Bruiser is not slow. Stiff arm, just brutally killing people with that thing. I know it hurts. Getting those outside runs and juking them out was always the move. And you can see, like I said, getting that edge was always the goal. And then spamming X anytime I got in a tackle in a fight. Always trying to do our best there. But like I said, scoring a touchdown every time we get the ball was the goal. Down on the one there, but no big deal. I think that's our third touchdown in the video. Um, Gain first downs and rush for a first down. That's my straight up bread and butter, buddy. Don't even worry about it. Up the middle, gain of 18 there. And you can see, like I said, in high school you can pick your plays. So I was kind of doing my best to kind of get me set up for the best that I could in terms of scoring on the first play. But it's high school playbooks. They're pretty limited. Nothing too exotic. But like I said, once I get that edge, man, I'm too fast. Wear and tear is not in high school, so that's bonus Jonas. So pretty good second game there. More scholarships. Alabama, the number 1 school on our recruiting board, gives us the offer. Curious to see where we sit at on the depth chart. Boise State, could we go be Ashton Jeanty 2.0? And then Georgia, another top 10 school on our recruiting board. Idaho, or Indiana, sorry. Miami, Michigan finally gives us the offer, so that's pretty huge. So the coach came and didn't offer us immediately. We're trying to remember that, so kind of like, oh, okay. Uh, Another SEC school, Missouri, and like I said, I think it was Penn State and Pitt. Um, Big schools. Syracuse, not really going to meet us, but we appreciate the offer. And then after that game, we're bumped up to number 1 in the country, number 1 in the state, number 1 in the position. That's where I'm trying to stay for the rest of the video. And you can see he's trying to butter us up here, trying to get us to verbally commit, because that's what you can do this year in high school. You can verbally commit. So I'm kind of playing around with it, and I'm like, okay, I can thank the coach. I can say they're my top school. I can say I'm not interested, or I can, talk trash about them on social media. So after kind of reading it as best as I could, I was kind of like, maybe I should just say thanks, coach. I don't want the benefit of saying they're my top school. Maybe that can hurt the other schools behind it, and then talking trash. I still want to keep the door open. And you can see this game, Georgia, one of the best teams in the country, want to come see us play. So definitely going to have to get that 50-yard touchdown for Georgia. But rearranging our board, Alabama offered us. That's number one. Since Georgia's going to be at the game, I put them number two. South Carolina is at three. Michigan's at four. Coastal's at five. North Carolina, and I would say pretty much anything after North Carolina is kind of the cutoff. As politely as I could say it. This is our second to last game, so definitely trying to make us count. Got the runoffs. You can see the cheerleaders here. Super duper cool that they not only in Team Builder kind of changed the cheerleaders and the fans in the stands to the appropriate colors because green and yellow is not a preset color build. So super neat that they're still able to let that happen. I did not use the Myrtle Beach Team Builder in a Expedition, so I don't know if this is their actual stadium or if it just gave me the field and then gave me the high school stadium. First play of game three, boom, 20-yard run, trying to double juke it. Just don't have that elusiveness just yet. But in due time, should have stayed on the edge there. Feel like I would have got the first down. Just anytime I saw green grass, I got a little too antsy. And you can see on this one, we're probably going to the crib. Um, two more speed. I'll score there. We're down at 12. Get another pitch. Get that edge. Just trying to do our best to get the first down. Try not to fumble because that would blow everything, obviously. But like I said last game, scoring every time we get the ball is the goal. So, especially with Georgia in the house, definitely want to put on a big show. It's one of the best teams in the country. So here's the Georgia challenge. Get us our 50 yards. I believe this one was the hardest one I had done. Um, Before this play, I think I had probably six runs. One of them I actually got past the 50 and had to run backwards, kind of get it back to the 50 because I wanted that 50-yard play. Luckily, it wasn't a 50-yard touchdown because obviously I didn't score, but the 50-yard run, to say the least, is definitely still a challenge. And then I hurdled him in front of the Georgia guys. So I definitely am looking at that offer now after this game where I've rushed for 50 yards and I leap over a guy and score a touchdown. Like definitely putting my name in their heads. I want to see if I'm the number one guy on their board, but still got to finish the game. Still got to finish the kind of basic challenges. Relatively easy after scoring a 50-yard play. You're just like, man, this is a breeze at this point. As long as I don't fumble. Like I said, that's going to mess everything up. But trying to score on every single play. High school kind of does get repetitive, but I enjoy it. You have the option to turn it off, but I don't think I ever would. Um, I have a blast doing it. I wish it kind of kept up with our high school stats. I hope next year, instead of play the moments, they do kind of let us play roughly the whole game or let us decide if we want to play the moments or the whole game. That'd be awesome because I'm sure the first Road to Glory one I run through, I'm going to want to play every high school game. And then, throughout the season, into January, I'm probably going to be over it. I was worried right here that it wasn't an outside handoff, so I stepped out at the one to make sure I did get an outside handoff and score. So that's why it looked a little dicey there. Why did I run out of the one? That's why. I have seen some bugs in the game since playing it since Monday. Uh, the main one is the first Road to Glory I made actually got corrupt. Um, I made it all the way to college, got to halfback one, or excuse me, got to halfback two, and was able to challenge for halfback. Jesus, stiff arm. Was able to challenge for halfback one, won the challenge, and it actually put me at WR1. So that's the biggest one I've actually messed with. Alabama offers us again, I guess. They just liked it so much they offered us twice, huh? Georgia Tech, that's an interesting jersey. I wouldn't mind that. Oregon, yeah. Now we're getting some big dogs. Texas, yeah, these are big schools, big playoff contenders. These are schools I'm kind of trying to look at to play for. Number one in the country, number one in the state, number one at the position. After that game, I did decide to put Oregon and Texas on the board. I forget the other team I sprinkled in. I think it was Georgia Tech. I think I decided to put all of them on the board because I kind of wasn't feeling the bottom of my board. So uh, you see me kind of rearrange it right now. It's going to end up being Alabama, Georgia, South Carolina, Oregon, Michigan, Georgia Tech, North Carolina, Nebraska, North Carolina, and Arizona State. That way it's a little bit more competitive. Cincinnati offered me. That'd be fun for like a defensive player, I think. Same thing with Minnesota. Uh, Not really interested in this build, but you never know in the future. Ole Miss, pretty cool jerseys. I love those powder blues, even though they have a mascot that makes zero sense to me. They are the Ole Miss Rebel. Oh, Kirby Smart. Super impressed with your performance, and they're gonna bump up our scholarship. Um, Obviously, that's gonna go into your depth chart, where you line up on the depth chart, stuff like that. So after this game, after that last game, coach is telling us, hey, can you believe it's senior night already? Don't forget to cut it down to 3 schools. All right, sweet. Cutting it down to 3 schools. After I just added everybody on the board. So I have to go through and cut schools. So this was actually extremely difficult for the most part. Looking at the board, I'm like, okay, uh, Georgia Tech, probably not going to be in it. Michigan did them last year. Can't do it again. Arizona State, they were really never in it. North Carolina kind of fell out of it. Nebraska, and we're down to 5. This was hard. This was really hard. I put Oregon out because they got in late. This was so difficult. I was having a hard time where to decide. I wanted to keep Coastal Carolina on because they gave us halfback one, and you can see we're the number one recruit on their board. We're the number one recruit on South Carolina's board, and you can see Georgia and Alabama all number one recruits. But if you look at Alabama, they actually have recruits and commits at my position. One of them also being a 5 star. So I was like, man, who it was between Georgia and Alabama, but seeing after Alabama has already signed or excuse me held commitments from 2 other running backs, I think I'm actually going to decide to keep Alabama out, which is something. If you ask me before this season, I was probably going to Bama. That was probably the school I was going to go to. But seeing like maybe I should have verbally committed sooner to get that out. But our 3 schools are going to be Georgia, South Carolina, and Coastal. Comment below. Who's he going to be? Georgia, South Carolina, or the home team, Coastal? And you can see you get a senior night in college or high school. Super cool. Come out with the roses. But where are my parents at? You know? But I'm trying to ball. Last game of the season, we've every football player that's ever played the last game of the season gets it. You just want the ball every time because this could be the last time certain people get to play. So, um, just like every other game, we want to beat the 2 challenges and we want to score every single time we touch the ball. Getting the edge, I'm completely outrunning it. Terrible AI by the safety there, and I'm to the crib. See ya. How's that for your challenge? Get in the field goal range and score a touchdown. Pretty sure those are both pretty possible there. First play, could we do it? First play, could we do it? We can get in the field goal range. Like I said, the outside handoffs, man, with this elusive bruiser, became extremely addicted. Most success I ran into, some of the plays I kind of cut out were actually the inside runs where I just couldn't figure out the truck, but I was just outrunning dudes on the edge. But you can see me mixing in another inside handoff, but every time I'd have to shred at least one on those. So I was kind of like, all right, I want to get to my college. So I'm trying, like I said, I'm trying to score on one play, unless the challenge is going to hurt me. But got to get inside runs for 10 yards, or is it first downs? That reaching out the ball, man, that mechanic is awesome. But I'm so scared I'm going to fumble every time I do it. Just pounding away. Can you imagine lining up against this guy? He runs like a fucking 4-3 and he can stiff arm you into the next atmosphere. After getting that last inside zone, I'm like bouncing outside, and you can see I'm scoring on that play. Like, those are just better for me. Killing the tape score, but our goal here is to make sure we get all these so we stay as the number one recruit in the nation, the number one recruit in the state, and the number one running back. So every time I got the ball at this point where it said score touchdown. This is actually, I believe, the last play of my high school career right here. On the edge, touchdown to win the game. The only thing about high school, it doesn't matter if you win or lose, just getting those challenges. But that's the wrap for high school. Now we're just trying to figure out where we're going to go. Tennessee, Clemson offers us after we've already cut them. Yeah, leave it to Clemson to not offer the number one player in the country till the last week of the season. Fucking idiots. Notre Dame and Texas A&M also offer. They were never in the contention, but we keep our number one in the country, number one running back. So we're the best player in all of high school football, and we're down to three: Georgia, South Carolina, and Coastal. Where will John Destiny end up? This is so cool. So where are we going, John? South Carolina? Georgia? Oh, we're going to Georgia. We're fake pick. We got faked. Got faked out. We're going to South Carolina? No. Fake picked again. We're going home. We're staying home? No, not staying home. All right, John, pick a fucking hat, man. Jesus Christ. South Carolina? Georgia? Georgia's a winning school. John's going to Georgia. John's going to Georgia. John said, "Fuck Georgia, fuck Georgia. It's going to be South Carolina or Coastal." Then there were two. Are we going to South Carolina? We're going to South Carolina. Fuck yeah, dude. We get to play Georgia. As a diehard South Carolina fan in real life, super pumped for this. First time I've ever done a RTG on here where I went to my school, Go Cox. But after high school, we did so well, we got extra coach trust, so we got extra plays. So that's super cool. And we got play count increase. Yes, so you don't get the whole playbook in the beginning. We are definitely vibing. After that, we had 73 points to put in. I put it all in the speed, or I maxed out speed. So we got an elusive bruiser with 98 speed, 99 excel. And then I put some in hands, and I put some in route running, I believe. So that's gonna leave us on week one. We're gonna be an 84 overall. So super pumped. 5-star elite dev. John Destiny ends up at the Cox. I did put in adrenaline as my badge there. I forget what they're called in here. But let's look at the team. You can see we got three other running backs ahead of us, all relatively at the same rating, but they are all juniors. So I think I have a real shot of jumping these guys. We keep Lenore Sellers. He has a tendency to end up in the transfer portal in this game. And we actually get JMU's quarterback as the backup. So we got two killer quarterbacks. 99 speed Nick Harbor. Malik Clark, Rock Hill legend. And then Brandon Rowe is a recruit in real life that is pretty big. So there's a lot of speed on this team. And when you look at the offensive line, I would argue that it's like somewhat like a C tier, B tier. Like it's not the best, but it's not the worst. I would say they average about an 80 overall, 82 overall, something like that. Um, but when you got Lenore Sellers, it really doesn't matter. He's got like 99 break sack. Um, but yeah, I would say the offensive line needs a little bit of work, but you got one of the best edge rushers in the country and Dylan Stewart. You got the best quarterback in the country and Lenore Sellers. You got Desmond Umazulu. You got some serious like edge rushing talent. Question is like how does their secondary hold up? Because I know that's a question mark in real life. The linebackers are still relatively mid. J.R. Johnson's pretty good recruit coming out of high school, but let's see how he does in real life. And obviously in the game, he's developing pretty well. I'm not even going to try to pronounce that name. Judge Collier, my favorite Gamecock on today's current roster. So shout out Judge if you watch this. You're the man. He stays. Kelvin Hunter is still here, but you can see free safety's kind of a hole. Kilgore, who's has NFL draft aspirations, is still on the team, and we got Mason Love, one of the best punters in the SEC. So we got, I would argue, like an a pretty mid SEC team. A pretty mid SEC team beats the shit out of most schools. But we're an 84 across the board. Uh, Excited to see where we sit at on the depth chart. I believe we're halfback four, so we're gonna have to hit those practices hard. Um, Let me know what you guys think about South Carolina as the pick. Until then, we'll see you in the next one.